Okay, today I'm going to be showing you how to replace your key fob. Now I have one here that the buttons are now gone, and this is actually my spare key, because my first key that I had, it was water damaged in the wash. So I'm going to be taking a look at the circuit board on that one after I replace the case on this one. So I got these replica key fobs off AliExpress, and they're relatively cheap, $2 free shipping, and they're pretty straightforward. You just pull them apart as you would a regular key fob. Just be careful, these springs are under tension, so you don't want to get hit in the face with a spring, but everything is straightforward. Now, taking apart the real key is a little bit tricky. I figured under this little Chevy emblem there would be a screw like the replica key, and it turns out there is none under it, so you have to just pry it apart. Now, for the life of me, I couldn't pry this apart without breaking it, so that's just what I did. I figured it doesn't matter, I'm not going to reuse this old key fob for anything, so just break it. Fortunately, the little PCB board came out easily, and it fit right into the new key fob without any alteration. So I tried to retrofit my original key and ring to the new case, and it just was off a tiny bit and it wouldn't work. So I actually have to remove my key blade off the old keyring and put it on the new keyring. So that's what I'm doing here. Now, as you can see, I've already removed the old keyring from my key, and I'm just retrofitting it now on the new ring. So this pin here was being stubborn, so I got a flat piece of plastic and I just forced it in. So when you're done, it should look like this. So now I'm going to reassemble the rest of the key. Here's the button that actuates the switchblade action on the key, and it has 3 prongs on it, so it can only go in one certain direction. Here I'm going to poke it into place. Now I'm not forcing it into place. As you can see, it still moves freely. Next, I'm going to put the spring. This spring actually is what gives it tension to actuate the switchblade action. Now here's the back cover of it, and this is a little bit tricky because there's a groove here that you actually have to put the end of the spring on and then give it 2 rotations just to give the spring tension, and then you just snap it into place. And if you assemble everything correctly, the key should work perfect. There shouldn't be any resistance when you open, and there shouldn't be any resistance when you close it. So almost done here. Now this is fairly easy. Just add the battery, and the aftermarket key fob does have a screw. So I'll screw that up and then I'll add the emblem. And we add the back cover, and perfect, we're done here. Now here's where the key looks like on my keyring, and now I'm going to be taking a look at the second key. Now this one has been water damaged from the wash, but it still functions and it's not in bad shape, but I'm still going to replace everything. I'm going to replace it with a new case. So here I'm going to test the key one more time. Now it's a rainy day today, and as you can see, I can press the buttons and it does flash the lights, but nothing actually works. The car doesn't unlock, the trunk doesn't unlatch, the car doesn't lock, and the panic button doesn't work either. Everything that I press just activates the back tail lights and the front lights. So back inside, I'm just going to disassemble the key just like I did the first key, so this is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to explain too much. Okay, I could already see problems. There's a lot of corrosion on the terminals here and a lot of corrosion on the board. As you can see, I can scratch it, but I don't think this is actual problem. And here is what can actually be the problem. There's corrosion on these two pins here. I'm gonna clean this all off with some alcohol and see if that helps. I'm a little bit doubtful that alcohol will help, but I'll try it anyway. So after I let everything dry, spoiler alert, it didn't help at all. So I'm going to be taking a look at this PCB board with a multimeter. So I'm going to first set this multimeter to continuity, and I'm going to test these buttons here. So from what I understand on these buttons, they work in parallel. So it's the top left with the top right and the bottom left with the bottom right. And if you crisscross them, they don't short together unless you press the button. So as soon as you press the button, all the points on this switch short together. So I'm going to test like this for all the buttons on this circuit. So it seems I found the problem here. Now all points on this switch here are short together, and I'm not pressing the switch. So I'm going to take this switch out of circuit to see if this solves the problem, which would make sense because as soon as you add the battery, this switch is on permanently, so it wouldn't allow the other buttons to work. So here's a closer look at the switch. Now I damaged it while I pulled it out of circuit, but if it's a bad switch, there's no point in putting it back on. So I'm gonna check eBay and see if I can source down this switch. Now this thing is very small, so I've never even seen this switch before, so I have to look. So I destroyed the old Keyfob, which has the battery terminal built into the back end of the case. So I'm going to disassemble the new key fob just so I can fit the PCB board in temporarily so I can test to see if the rest of the buttons are working. So I got rigged up temporarily, and as you can see the battery's in the back there, and the PCB board keeps bouncing around. So I did get it to unlock the trunk door, and the rest of the other buttons I tested off camera because it's hard to hold everything together and record. So everything seemed to be working. So I forgot to record, so what I decided to do was take off the panic button and remove the switch from that and replace it over to the door lock button. You really don't need the panic button for anything except making noise, so I'm gonna remove that and just replace it over here. Now I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Now keep in mind this switch is very small and it's housed in plastic, so if I heat up the switch for too long I can melt the housing of the switch, and I don't want to do that. So I'm doing what I can slowly because I just want to hit the four corners of the contacts. I don't want to burn anything else. Now right there, as you can see, the switch is a little crooked, and that little component to the right of my iron is moving around because I keep touching it. It's not the prettiest job, but it'll work. So I'm going to follow it up with some 99% alcohol just to clean up the flux off the board, and then I'll go test it. So I get the multimeter and I'm going to test it with the multimeter, make sure it's functioning how it should. And everything passes here. So on to the next step. So I forgot to mention in the first key, now to remove the original key from the original key ring, you do have to heat it up. So I use my hot air rework station to get it hot enough so I can slip this pin out, because this thing was not coming out any other way. But see, after a couple of minutes of me heating this up, it slips out really easy, so it helps to have a hot air station. The new key doesn't need that much effort, it slips out rather easy. So the new pin is actually having trouble working itself in, so I actually take a needle nose plier and just tighten it up into a cone shape, just so I can get it started in the hole, and then I'll force it in by force. So from this part on, I'm just going to reassemble it like I did the first key. So this part is all self-explanatory. So with the emblem, the badge in place, the key is finished. It works. Now let's go test it outside. So I got both keys here. I'm going to test my primary first. As you can see, everything works. So it seems even the spare is working, minus the panic button. So as you can see, the panic button is being pressed, nothing. So I really like how this turned out. If you like these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.